So my name is Lev Yakupov. I'm responsible for marketing at TrueConf. Today, I'm going to cover the latest update of our flagship platform, which is called TrueConf Server. TrueConf Server is the most popular on-premises video conferencing solution for enterprises, for medium-sized companies, and for government sector. We are working on this product for almost 20 years. And the latest release, which I'm going to present today, took us almost half a year to prepare. A lot of features, a lot of changes. We will share the full change log a little bit later this week for you. However, today, the release, the update will be available on our website. So you can download it already. You can upgrade for free your existing installations because it is a minor update in our terminology. We didn't change the second digit of the version, we changed the third digit of the version. So this update is available for every customer. So we ask our partners and customers to update to receive new features. This release is pretty large. It consists of two large parts. The first part is about infrastructure changes, server-side changes. And during today's webinar, we're going to cover the changes on the server side software. And for client-side software changes, we're going to make another webinar next week, same time, same day, next Thursday. It will be about the version TrueConf for Windows, for Linux, and for macOS, version 8.3. We're going to cover it next week. However, today, we're going to cover the server itself. If you have any questions, I can see your messages. I will share my screen, but I can see your messages. Feel free to ask any questions, and let's start. So during the whole webinar, I will share my screen. I hope you can see the slide deck. You can see myself. Here I am, and the slide deck. So the new version has a number 5.2.9. It is already available. So it helps companies to receive the freedom of communications. It is the only product available on the market which can guarantee you the real private environment for your video conferences. The video streams, your communications, your video calls or multi-point calls will never leave your network, will never leave your perimeter. So you can be sure that while you're seeing your parties, seeing your participants, your colleagues, none of your data, your audio or video signal will leave a network. So everything stays inside, everything stays private and doesn't go to the cloud. That's very important to understand about TrueConf Server. It is on-premises collaboration platform. And TrueConf Server is much more than just video conferencing. It also has a lot of features, what is called unified communications. So it can be used as a messenger application. You can see your colleagues, you can see their statuses, you can reach them via audio calls or video calls. You can use TrueConf as a messenger application because we do support not just personal private chats, we also do support group chats with your teammates for projects, for departments, whatever you want. So most often our customers and me, myself, we're using TrueConf outside of video conferences. We use them as a messenger, which helps companies not only to gain the privacy of their video conferences, but also help our customers to replace the fragmentation of the communication they usually have, because many customers struggle from the problem that many corporate communication happening in WhatsApp, in Viber, some other messengers, while TrueConf makes possible to move business communication, working questions, working discussions to the local server, which you can control, which you can trust. Okay, let's start from the most important change in this release. We added support for very high resolution individual videos for layouts. Doesn't mean we never supported Full HD before. We do support 4K for many, many years. We actually was one of the first companies. Actually, we were the first company to support 4K for video calls and for multiple conferences for many years so far. But with this release, it is now possible to scale up the individual video, not the whole resolution for many participants, but for individual person in the layout. you can scale up the resolution and frame rate up to 1080p 30 frames per second. That's a lot. That makes, well, I like this way. Let me bring this to the front. Yep. So it is possible now to fulfill the 8K screen, LED screens in the large conferencing rooms with a crisp, nice quality video conferencing, because in our system, we do not rely on the cloud. So if you have a nice bandwidth in your network between your buildings, inside your department, factory, organization, whatever, you can easily reach high resolutions. And this is the maximum resolution which client application can encode and send to other parties, but it doesn't affect the less powerful devices. It doesn't affect mobile users, because as before, our system every moment monitor the available vendors, the available resources on endpoints, both endpoints, who sends the video and who receives and displays the video. We monitor our TrueConf applications window size. So if you have a small window size, there is no point to send you higher resolution. So we take everything into the account. So if you have a nice, high quality, high DPI screen, if you have a nice bandwidth, so we will scale automatically to very high resolutions. And our recommendation in that now it is possible to enable 30 frames per second for your multi-point calls. So the video will become very smooth. And as for the content, we also increased the limits. It is now possible to deliver 4K content, not just for point-to-point calls. It was available before for point-to-point calls, but now even in the group conferences, it is now possible to deliver 4K content. For example, if you share a large project, some CADs scan, some big map, whatever you have, which requires a lot of details, a lot of small fonts, a lot of typewriting. So you can see everything in very high detail with a 4K content sharing, which is available for every endpoint, for every participant, if they are able to double click on the content size to make it larger, to take in the full screen. So we will be able to scale it even higher than 1080p. So if you have a bigger screen, 4K screen or Quad HD screen, we can fulfill in very high resolution. Those changes are not automatic. So if you need to scale up the individual video resolution, well, if you need to scale up the content resolution, get in touch with your manager or our support team. We will send you a special configuration file for a server for Linux, Windows, whatever you have, and it will be applied to your server. It is a server-wide change, not a conference change. It is applied for all conferences on your server. However, it is implemented on all client applications we have. It is implemented in the server. So the only downside is that the system requirements for the endpoints will be a little bit higher, because now if you activate the settings, your endpoints will start to encode 30 frames per second or 1080p 30 frames per second, which of course will require, during multiple conferences, will require more CPU resources compared to the previous default resolution of 720p with 15 frames per second. I will come back for the main application I have here. Okay. Hello, Rudolf. Just to check your questions. Yeah, no questions so far. Okay, let's continue.
How about that?
Okay. The next change is about, just a moment. The next change is about the new, let's say, not a conferencing mode, but new feature for every conference we have, which is called waiting rooms. So now it is possible to collect all participants who join your meeting in a waiting room. And once you're ready, you can move all participants or some participants. You can decide which one you want to move back and forth from the waiting room to the main conference and vice versa. So at any moment, if the waiting room is enabled, you can move people around from waiting room to the conference and back. It can be applied, this setting, for ad hoc meetings. You start on the go, or it can be applied for scheduled meetings in our scheduler inside TrueConf application. So please pay attention. I will show you. the new feature is already available. So this is an ad hoc meeting I have right now. So that's a all-screen meeting with put participants in the waiting room on entry. So if I put this checkbox, all people who will try to join my meeting will be immediately listed and forwarded to the waiting link. They will never join the actual conference unless I invite them to the conference. I will show you how it works. So we have a meeting here. We have prepared a meeting with the waiting room enabled. I will try to join it. Yes, here I am. You can see that application tells me that I am in the waiting room. You can also see that I don't have a participant tab. I am not able to see participants. I don't have chat tab, so I am not able to communicate with other participants. So while you are in a waiting room, you will never know who are other participants. You will never be able to communicate with them. You need to wait until the host or moderator will invite you to the actual conference. Ivan, please move me to the conference. Hello, so now you can see Ivan invited me from the waiting list to the conference. Now I have a chat. Now I have a list of participants. Ivan, please remove me to the waiting list. Move me to the waiting list. So now I'm back to the waiting room. The only thing I have in the waiting room, I can adjust my peripherals. I can adjust my microphone, camera, speakers, and that's it. Or I can just drop this call. We're going to improve this. This is our first approximation, first implementation of the waiting room. We're going to add the special audio notification, special UI notifications when you will be moved to the conference and from the conference back to the waiting room. Because if you spend some time in a waiting room, it will be required for you to not to miss it, so to play back some sound. So it will be added in the next versions of our platform. But right now, if you are looking for a solution for webinars, when you would like to have some private time while your audience is gathered to the meetings, and you don't want your meetings to be immediately visible for all people who join your meeting, you can enable waiting room, take your time, prepare yourself, prepare the speakers, and once you're ready, you can move all the people to the conference. We're also going to add the customized backgrounds for the waiting room. But right now, we technically supported this feature, and all the small UI things like audio notifications, backgrounds will come later. Okay. This is how it is possible to move people around. So you can apply the movement action to an individual user by bringing up the context menu by right-clicking on the participant in the participant list, or you can move all people. If you click on the three dots button in the section in the participant list, we can move all people from the waiting list to the conference, or you can move all people from the actual conference back to the waiting list. There are some exceptions. If you invite to the conference an operator, it will not be affected to the waiting room. All operators automatically receive moderator rights on our server, and they skip the waiting room. It is also possible when you create a meeting, you can assign some people you'd like to join that meeting with the moderator privileges before meeting starts. And when a previously assigned moderator join the meeting, he will be immediately connect to the meeting, not the waiting room, because every moderator, not only host, but moderator as well, they can control the waiting room movements of participants. Another big improvement. Yes, Rudolf, you have a question?
Yeah. So the moderator cannot speak to those who are in the waiting room, but he can invite and manage who is in the waiting room at the moment. Right, and if you're a moderator, you just keep the waiting room itself.
Correct. The initial request for waiting room came from one of our customers, and the specification, the exact requirements we received was that people in the waiting room shouldn't communicate with each other, first of all, and while people in the conference speakers or some VIP persons, whatever, they should communicate with each other. So we totally separate them, and we also block for waiting room participants to communicate with each other. They don't even see the number of people in the waiting room. They are just standing behind the door. They are not inside. They don't see what's going on. They don't see any data, statistics, number of participants. They don't see any.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but
Right.
tell us your feedback, because it is possible to add more feature. This is just the first approximation in this feature. It will be improved with the new releases. Okay, the next big thing is for, usually it was requested by large enterprises, not even by medium-sized companies, but it is quite important for large customers we have. So we added support for data loss prevention or data leak prevention systems. So far, we supported the most popular solutions available on the Russian market, including Kaspersky, which are quite popular outside of the country as well. And the information security systems developed in Russia are quite popular in many countries. So they are number one information security systems, actually. So we added support for InfoWatch DLP, Search-Info DLP, Solar DLP, and Kaspersky DLP. So what does it mean? That means that every message, every file being sent to the personal chat or to the conference will be sent to the DLP system for screening. And if any rule will be triggered on the DLP system, some actions could be applied to that file or message. There are 3 types of actions. So we can pass the message or file without changes. We can change them. So we can replace some words, or we can replace the message with something like message was blocked, or we can delete this message. So it will look for the user that message disappeared and never delivered to the person he sent this message to. Why it is needed for large customers? You can imagine that, for example, you have a large organization and you have research division who create new stuff, and you have a retail division who sell the existing inventory. So thanks to DLP integration, we can create some rules that none files could be sent, no files, no attachment could be sent from research department to retail department. It is possible now. Or we can look for specific keywords like some freelance work, some secrets which can be shared with the outside users. So it's up for information security administrator what rules to create. What we're doing, we're just sending everything to the DLP system provided. We do not create rules. We're following the actions we received for every message being sent from DLP system. So I will show you how it looks like. So here I have on the control panel for TrueConf Server 5.2.9. You can see the version here. We have an add-on from DLP. DLP is based on the protocol called ICAP, or Megan's larger. ICAP protocol is a default standard protocol, which is RC registered standard for DLP solutions integration. So we need to connect to our DLP solution. We need to customize the request using HTTPS because ICAP protocol is a protocol which works over HTTPS. So we can include the information about our message. We send it with receiver. You can see the source user, destination user, chat ID, which is very important because DLP system, they have their own statistics, they have their own reports. They can be integrated with Active Directory as well. So it is possible to use DLP system to monitor messages between users. And we send those requests, including every message contents or every file contents to that system. And some default actions could be applied, or we can just follow the recommendation from the DLP system. If you enable file monitoring using DLP system, files being sent by users will be processed by DLP system. It takes some time. So if you send a 10 gigabytes file, you need to wait at least 1 minute. before it will be scraped by the DLP system. But it's up to you whether to enable this for regular files or not. So this is the new setting. We have some screenshots, I believe. Not here. So if you want to enable this, please get in touch with your partner managers, because this is an extra add-on. It is not included by default. It is additional option in our license. So if I go to the license settings for my demo server, you can see that integration with DLP is a new string here. It is something new. We added it. It wasn't available before. So if you want to have this feature, you have to purchase it separately. Or we can provide you with a demo for whatever time you need for checking it out. Okay, I think we have some questions.
No, not yet.
Good. The next important part of the changes came into the window used to control the meetings for hosts and for moderator. So if I start a meeting, let me create some meeting. We'll add some participants. Okay. I just created a meeting. Let me minimize myself. By the way, please pay attention that in the client application, now it is possible to separate your video with self-view from the main layout. And we specifically display as an orange badge telling you that you are visible, you are on air. And if you want to be not visible, you can disable your camera, or you can step from the podium. But this is all on-screen meeting, so every person is visible, every person is on air, so I can clearly see this from this badge. Anyway, so to access the new settings for moderators and for hosts, I need to open real-time meeting management. So once again, hosts and moderators, by clicking those three buttons, can access real-time meeting management. It was designed to manage layouts, to manage participant equipment, and everything we usually need to do remotely with your participants during the meetings. But now it is also possible, I will go back here, to do some additional actions. So first thing we can do is to change conference ID, which is quite important. Let me show you. By default, when you create a new meeting, we assign the random name. So this is our random conference ID. It is not possible to guess it because it is randomized, so they doesn't appear consequently. Every new meeting creates a random ID, and actually you can ask your technical support engineer to create a prefix. So we can create for every server instance, we can create a specific prefix for that conference ID if you want. So let's pretend that this meeting is quite important. We'd like to share it with a lot of people. Would like to make this ID to be useful, to bring more data from the link itself. So I can go here and change the ID that
On the fly.
name it pretty ID. Okay, so I will save it. Okay, so now my link is your server address /c/pretty ID. So if I go to the new link, I can now share the new pretty link. However, please pay attention that old ID will not be available. So if you want to restore the old ID for some reason, you have to save it somewhere and have to copy it and use it for later. What other reasons could be for the ID change? First of all, it is not possible to change it. I would say it like a hot change. So it's now possible to change ID for on-the-go conference. Before, it wasn't even available for stopped conferences to change ID. It was like a constant. It wasn't possible to change it. Now it is not only possible to change it for stopped conferences, it is also possible to change it for on-the-going conferences. What other reasons could be? It may be useful for your privacy. For example, you send the link to the wrong person. You can change your ID. Wow. on the go or on the conference scheduler. So if I go to the conference scheduler, I can also change my conference ID here. It wasn't available before. So now it's possible to change it. This is also something new. So we can create more protection for the links we think is leaked, but we don't want to recreate all the settings for the conference: invitation participants, layouts, streaming settings, whatever you have specified for a meeting. Another reason could be you can change ID to prevent invited people from joining the conference. For example, you believe that every person who joined the conference is already here and you don't want any others to join. So you can change ID and they will never guess what it is. However, for that, we created another feature. Let me show you, which is lock meeting. So now I can lock a meeting. I can show you. So now conference is locked. So I think that all people I wanted to speak with is already there. So the conference is locked. That means if I try to join this conference, let me change the language. It requires authentication. Okay, I'll authenticate. I think I'm not a host. Let me check. Yeah, access denied. So the conference, I'm an authenticated user or guest, but I'm not able to join the meeting because it is already locked by the moderator or the host. So it also creates some additional security level. So any moment on the go, you can lock the meeting. So let me release this lock, unlock the meeting. So now I can join finally. Yeah, here it is. It will take some time to scale up the conference. Okay, I will leave it. Another thing right there is the pin request and pin editing. So if you forgot to install pin for the public conference, it is not possible to install it. Any moment you can create a pin for the conference. Let me create a pin. I just created the pin. And I will try to join that meeting again. And the system asked me to enter the pin code. If I enter something, it will tell me that the pin code is invalid. I won't be able to join the meeting. If I enter the correct pin, I will be able to join the meeting. So it's another protection method. So you can change the pin code any moment to prevent other users to join the conference. Or you can change the pin code. For example, you think that your pin code was compromised, that was leaked or something, so you can change it. Anyway, we recommend you not to share public meetings, not to share links for public conferences, to authenticate your users. It is more safe. However, if you decided to make a public conference which is available for guests by clicking a link, please never share the pin code next to your conference link, next to a conference URL. You have to deliver the pin code using a separate communication channel, whatever you prefer, but it's not safe to send invitation link with a pin code because it's nonsense. It creates zero security. We also do support the ping, which is called federation. For example, if you'd like to speak with another company who already have TrueConf Server, you can create some friendship relationship between your servers. This is a pretty old feature, but it is very useful. So I can create a friendship between multiple servers using a whitelist and blacklist approach, and it will allow the remote server, the foreign server users to join my meeting without authentication because we trust them. So we can even create group chats together. I have many chats with the remote users from different companies because of this federation feature. That also makes possible to see the statuses. It is possible to call them. It is possible to invite foreign users to your conferences. So they behave like a regular local users, but you don't pay for them. They are available in your address book from other licenses, from other server. This is a very secure approach because you can trust those users because they are authenticated on the remote server. They are not guests, they're real users. Questions?
Still not yet.
And the most importantly, it is now possible to, during the meeting, I can record the meeting. Before, to record on the server, this feature is about server-side recording, not client-side. It is not possible from your client application to initialize and stop the server-side recording. For example, the important meeting you have created, which is already going, you forget to enable recording for that. In the previous version of TrueConf Server, it would be a big problem. You would need a specific call to our API to enable the recording on the server for the ongoing conference. But with the new update, it is now possible for every host, for every moderator to enable server-side recording. I'd like to mention that on the server side, everybody is recorded. And despite the settings, they block themselves from recording. Every person will be recorded, every content, everything. Even chat messages are recorded in the server side. So I can stop the server-side recording. I can stop it. I can start it once again, any moment I want to. And it will be also possible for me as a host of this conference to see those recordings in my scheduler. So I'll stop this meeting and go to the scheduler. Maybe not that conference. To access recordings, I need a conference where I'm a host. So yes, this conference I'm a host. So let me do this once again. But okay, we created 2 recordings for that conference on the server side, on the go. So now I can go to this scheduler where it is. Yes, and now we see the recordings. So I can download it. There's now required to open the web page because server-side recordings are saved on the server. So we need to download them from the server. Once downloaded, I can open them and play them. We do not support the real-time streaming of your recording from the server to the client application. It is not available yet. So that's a big difference compared to the local recordings. The local recordings are still available. So I can join the same meeting. Let me join it. I'll add some participants. The local recording is under here, 3 dots, video recording. But that recording will happen locally, not on the server. And that recording is possible to play back immediately without downloading from your application. Actually, we even added the special recording tab. So chats, conferences, calls, whatever, we have a recording tab. So I can play back any conferences I have recorded before at any moment. What we also did is, let me show you, I will enable recording of this conference. It is already enabled. When we go to the scheduler, you will see this special sign. You can see here, if the recording is enabled for the conference, you can see this icon. And if the recording is active at the moment, you can see the red dot inside that icon. So let me show you. For this, let's say marketing conference, I will enable recording. Okay. And now we see this icon in the list of the conferences or virtual world. So every session within that virtual world will be recorded. And if session is being recorded at the moment, you will see the red dot in the same icon, also a new feature. Okay. I will stop the conference. And let's proceed. Another big.
So when you say the recording, you can see the time over there, and you can see also the name of the conference, right? And you can also edit.
It is not possible to edit the video file. However, every recording is now available not just for administrator. It is also available for the regular user. So you can see recording sessions here. So you can see what time it started, what time it was ended, but you don't see the list of participants. It is a separate.
On the server, you can see that, right? Anyway,
it's possible to see here. We call this analytics. So if you go to analytics, you can see the participant list, chat history, file history. But for recordings, it is a separate report just for recording. But again, it is available for hosts and for moderators on the meeting.
Right.
Not for regular users. And on the server side, it was available for many years. Have a report, conference recording report, so we can play back from the server directly any conference. We can let's take play another conference. I'm drinking coffee in the morning. So you can play back from the server. We can even show the chat messages. So when you play back the conference, if you're an administrator and you play back the recording from the conference, you can see chat messages as well, not just the video and audio. But that was available for many years so far for administrators from the report section. Okay, another big improvement is the support for two new types of authentication. We added support for Microsoft technology called ADFS, which stands for Active Directory Federation Services. In a few words, that means that now it is possible to set up the two-factor authentication for remote users. We also added support for another thing, which is called Kerberos. I'll show you. I can write it here. So Kerberos is also important. Kerberos is also part of Microsoft ecosystem for Active Directory, but Kerberos has open source realizations, and now it is possible to authenticate once. That this is something we call single sign-on. So now it is possible to use single sign-on technique from Linux machine and from Mac OS computers, from Macs, and because Kerberos speaks with Active Directory server from Linux computer or Mac computer and authenticates you. Before, this was only available for Windows computers. In Windows, this technology called NTLM. So when we have a computer in the domain for Windows, it was available for many years to authenticate only once, single sign-on for NTFS, but now we added support for single sign-on for Linux and Macs using Kerberos, which is also available in the Active Directory. But ADFS is more powerful. Actually, ADFS allows system administrators and security administrators to set up any authentication method they want. It could be SMS message, it could be email confirmation, whatever. It's not our business. We just ask the user to open the web page of ADFS. Microsoft renders it. Microsoft sends it to us. User authenticate on Microsoft web page and send us the specific access token which we store that we can trust that user or we are not able to trust. So it could be, it looks like that. So we open when you try to authenticate and ADFS is enabled for your network. So we ask you to enter your login and password. And after that, ADFS can ask you to enter one-time password, which you receive using authentication application or SMS. It's up to you. And once you pass all the challenges from ADFS, there could be many of them, we can authenticate you on TrueConf Server, and that's it. And what is very beautiful idea we implemented in that server is that we added the special setting page on our server where you can select which authentication methods to apply to which networks. So you can create specific zones. You can create trusted zones, trusted subnetworks, and all other networks, of course, are not trusted. And you can select which authentication methods are available for trusted zones and which authentication method are required for not trusted zones. So let me show you. Here we have authentication settings. So we have the default trusted zone. I can rename it. We used to have a Russian webinar a couple of hours ago. Trusted networks. So you can add any subnets to your trusted networks. It could be VPN parts of your network. It could be specific IP addresses of your cloud computers. It could be your home computer dedicated IP address or some other company IP network. We don't care. You tell us which networks you can trust and which authentication methods to use for that networks. And on that demo server, I don't have a Kerberos and ADFS enabled, so those checkboxes are disabled. But you can select which authentication methods are required and available for the local users for the trusted networks. While all other zones, all other networks, let me show you, are not trusted. I will say this. Internet. So you don't see the list of the subnets here because we don't trust all others. All not listed zones are not trusted. And you can enable additional authentication methods for not trusted networks, for all other networks. For example, if your employee, if your user is traveling, he tries to connect to your local communication server, your video conferencing server from the hotel, from his mobile phone, on the go, from other country, and you never know from which network your user can connect to your internal network. It could be a compromised network. It could be not protected Wi-Fi connection. It could be a proxy, which is not a very secure way to join corporate resources. It could be keylogger on the computer the user is using from the hotel, for example. Whatever, it is better not to trust remote users with a login and password. It is better to ask them for some additional authentication method. And we can enable now ADFS for our remote users to authenticate on TrueConf Server from subnets, from networks we don't trust. That's the whole idea of these new settings, which is very beautiful idea. And here we can customize which authentication methods are available. If you want to create more zones, we have a special instruction, the manual from our technical support team, and you can apply to create more zones in those settings. Another new feature is about group privileges, about group policies. I will show you. So on our server, we can separate users in many groups. And for example, on that demo server, you can see many different privileges. We now have a new privilege, which is here, is the ability to receive files. Before, we had a privilege to send files, to send messages, share content, create conferences, make calls, whatever. But now we can limit some groups to receive files. For example, let's take the example I told you about before. We have a retail department, and we don't want any other users to send them files. So we can take from their department the privilege, the right to receive files, and they will not be able to receive any file from other colleagues. Just to make sure they can send them, but they will never be able to receive images, files, whatever, video files. Everything delivered as files on our chat platform. But most interestingly, we added support for two new types of groups. You can see here that new specific, we call this virtual group. 3 new virtual groups was added, which is called federated users and guest users. So federated users virtual group is a group which consists of all users who connect to your server or to your conferences using federation. That means authenticated, trusted users from remote servers, from servers you do not operate, from other customers, TrueConf servers, from other organization servers who use TrueConf server. And you can make very interesting things here. You can prohibit federated users to receive files or send files or to make calls to your users. You can invite them to the meeting, but they won't be able to call your users. So this is pretty smart. And the same is also
That's very nice.
Also applied for another virtual group, which is guest users. So now we can prohibit guest users also to receive files being shared. So for example, if your users create a lot of public conferences, and public conference is a potential threat because any user who knows PIN code or the link can join the public conference. And your trusted local users unintentionally can send some files to the public conference, and those files will become available for guest users who join that meeting. And you can be more safe if you disable for guest users the ability to receive files, for example, or to make recordings. It's up to you. So now you can assign rights and privileges of federated users from remote servers and anonymous guest users who are joining your public conferences. This is a very new thing. Let me check the chat. Okay, no chat so far. We also added the new widget, not a big change, but just a couple of seconds, which help you to understand how the storage on the server is distributed. So now you have the pie chart where you can see how much space is used by recordings, file storage. File storage, that means that every files, images, videos, whatever, exchanged by users in chat or group chat. Usually it takes a lot of space, less than recordings, but a lot of space. And the working path is the size of the home directory of TrueConf server. That means the size of our database, log files, avatars, slideshows being generated and sent by users. So some stuff which usually don't take a lot of space compared to the recordings. I also want to remind you that for the recording, in the recording sections, you can set the expiration date. So that means it's like a video registrator. So you can automatically delete old recordings if you enable this setting. So you can take control of the amount of space the recordings will take on your server. We also added for administrators the ability for every session to see the files being sent to that session. Because every conference actually consists a lot from many sessions. For example, just imagine you have a virtual room. It lives for years or months, and you can use the same ID for the virtual room for a long time. And every time the last participant left that virtual room, the session ends. And every time the new participant, it could be host or whatever user, joins the virtual room, which is empty, the new session starts. So for every session, we have participant list. For every session, we have statistic for files, chat messages being exchanged, recordings. So we separate every conference, logical conference, into many physical sessions. So now for sessions, we can see the chat, file messages being sent. So let me show you. I go to the call history settings. I put the ID of the conference. So this conference ID has two sessions. One session with one participant, and another session with 8 participants. So I open this second session, and I can see which files being exchanged during that session. So some images being exchanged there, some text files. And this is just another small UI improvement for system administrators. Another improvement for administrators is call history. So now it is possible to see the same call history available inside the application. Let me show you. So every user has a call history. It consists of your point-to-point calls, group calls, conferences, whatever. Now, system administrators can access the same list. So I can go, let me check my user. My user ID is bots active EM. Okay, let's find that user. I go to administration panel, user accounts, active EM. Yes, I'm Jane today. Okay. And we can see the call history in the user profile. And now administrator can see the activity of every user. And activity consists not only from the point-to-point calls, it also consists of conferences. And we can access the sessions, conferences for every call, for every session. So we can more easily find some troubleshooting information, call statistics, files being exchanged for every session. So for system administrators, it is a big improvement, which helps them more easily gather information about sessions of their users. And the same is also available in the personal area, because on the web page of TrueConf Server, users also are not just administrators. Users also have the personal area. So I can authenticate and go to the personal area, and finally I can access my call history here as well. If I was a host of the meeting, I can also access from here some analytics, recordings, whatever. Okay. We also added the indication that conference will be recorded on the public page of the conference. So let me show you. We have in the scheduler the conference which will be recorded, this one. I open that page and you see a big string, big text that the conference will be recorded. So your users will never ask you again, will the conference will be recorded or not? Because they are not administrators. They don't want to go to the conference settings. They usually ask administrators to check, double check, triple check. Will it be recorded? My meeting is extremely important. Please make sure it will be important.
Sure.
Not anymore. So now users, when they share the link, they will see that the conference will be recorded here, here, and here. So it's very difficult to miss the information about the fact that the conference will be recorded. Okay.
Now it's really obvious.
It is, but it created a lot of problems for administrators. We also added the new reminders. So now we started to receive complaints that people miss their meetings because we send the reminder only once, 15 minutes before the meeting, just once, 15 minutes before the meeting. But now it is possible to send up to 5 reminders, up to 5 invitations for the meeting before the meeting starts for any amount of time in advance. I will show you. So let me go to this marketing meeting. I'm the owner of this meeting. It is not scheduled. Okay, let's create a new one. Let's create a new public conference with a specific date of time, demo conference. So now I can create the reminder. I can add, let me enable 5 minutes reminder, 15 minutes reminder. I will disable 30 minutes, but I will add 1 day reminder, and I will add 7 days reminder. So now the invitation link with information about that meeting, with a calendar integration, will be sent to every registered user for this conference, if I enable registration, or to every added participant of that meeting 4 times. 5 minutes before, 15 minutes before, 1 day before, and 7 days before. This is especially useful if you enable registration. If you'd like to receive some information about the anonymous guest users who join the meeting, you can ask them. We told about this in the previous webinar for the previous version, that now you can create any number of customized fields which are obligatory or not obligatory for every user who want to join the public meeting. So this way you can collect some information, which is later can be downloaded in Excel table about the users who participated in the public conference, because you know everything about your local users, because you have all the statistics about local users, but you know very few information about guest users. So we recommend you to enable registration for your public meetings. For guest user, it will require 30 seconds to add some information about himself or herself, just maybe name, department, contact phone, email, whatever. At least city app email will be useful, so you will be able to know who joined your meeting, the public meeting, if you create one. And now, as I said, the reminders can be set for any period of time. Of course, this feature requires the SMTP server integration. We do not send emails. We require account from your SMTP corporate mail server to send messages. If you have a message, if you have a SMTP server, it could be cloud or local one, whatever, and you have to create the account for TrueConf Server on that mail server, and we will use it to send messages. So it will look like conferencing at your companyname.com or TrueConf at your company.com. Email address will initialize from that address, invitations will be sent. Because we do not spam. We only send messages through your server. And the last one, we released a new product, which is called TrueConf Border Controller. It is quite complicated thing, mostly for the government and various security conscious organizations, which terminates all requests, all network packets, all the data from outside of your network, and only pass through the verified TrueConf packets. So, for example, for all remote users, the border controller will look like TrueConf Server, while TrueConf Server is actually located inside your private network. And from inside your private network, the server TrueConf Server will only communicate with a trusted border controller, not with any other users. So only trusted border controller from specific IP address will send verified TrueConf packets, not other type of packets, because we recreate them. Basically, what means termination of traffic? TrueConf border controller receive the media or signaling packet, whatever, delete it, and recreates it on the output and send it inside the network. It is possible to encrypt this additionally using different encryption methods, but the idea is that only trusted packets from trusted endpoint gets inside your network. However, for all other users, border controller looks like and behave like TrueConf Server. So you can connect remote users to your inside perimeter in a very secure way. So no need to install the second TrueConf Server in DMZ anymore. So now it is possible to install the border controller outside of your network, and border controller will verify that only trusted packets from TrueConf client applications will go through, and remote users this way will be able to participate with your local users. That's the border controller. Border controller is basically a command line application. It is available for Windows, for Linux, for x86 architecture. It is already available. However, it is only available for the customers who has a paid support plan, not for free users, and not for the customers who didn't pay for the support plan. We recommend to use border controller. If you have a lot of users inside your network and time to time you do public conferences, please install the border controller. It will significantly improve the security. Border controller can be used to pass only TrueConf application traffic. So it is not possible when you install the border controller. It will not be possible to join your internal protected server for SIP devices, for H323 devices, and for WebRTC endpoints. If you want your SIP devices to get through your network, through your firewall, from outside to inside to your local network, you need to install additional session border controller for SIP, which is not a feature of our border controller. It is a standalone third-party product, so there are many available. You can purchase from Cisco, Pony, whatever. There are border controllers for SIP and H323 traffic. But for TrueConf traffic, we offer for free for all customers who has a paid support plan, the border control. That's it. All features so far I want to remind you about our chat. We have a very large chat for the Russian-speaking audience of our customers, and the growing, not very big chat so far in the Telegram for the English-speaking audience of our customers. So if you want to join, please join, because our product team is there, me, myself in there, Rudolf is there, our technical support team is there. So install Telegram, scan the code. We are right just a few seconds away from you. If you have any question, if you have any idea, share with us. We will be able to reply you immediately. In Russian chat, we have more than 1,000 active users. So this is very useful. It's a very short distance between us as the vendor and you as a partner or customer. This is a big privilege. Other competitors will never give you, but we are very open, and we provide you with the new communication channels to improve our collaboration together with you. Okay.
There is, I think, one question regarding the waiting room feature. Is it available already in the current version, released version of the client application?
Rudolf, what feature?
Waiting room, the waiting room feature, which we discussed today.
It is available in the TrueConf Server version 5.9, which is published on our website. It is available for general audience, for everybody. Yes, it is available, of course.
Okay, great. Also, one more thing. We have a very nice page with a change log for all previous versions. When do you think we can add all of these very important, very nice features also on the website for others, for regarding TrueConf Server 5.2.9?
The change log, the news, and the recording on this webinar will be available, I think, not tomorrow, but probably on Tuesday. So we are currently translating the changelog to English, so it will be available shortly. And the news and this presentation and the recording, everything will be available for our partners and customers next week very shortly. But the new release and the new client applications for Linux and for Windows, and the server for Linux and for Windows are already available for Debian, for Windows Server, whatever you have. So you can go and update. We do not require the re-registration, the second approach registration. So you can freely upgrade your existing installation. You can do it any moment. So this upgrade will not require registration on the server. So your license won't be checked. Just go and upgrade. Thank you for your time, Rudolf. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Lev. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, I hope you will enjoy this update, and the next release will be even better with more very interesting features than you, I believe, long-awaited new licensing model with the better chat capabilities. It will be very important updates for us. It's going to happen in October, so stay tuned. The new features will be available shortly. We're going to participate in some big shows this autumn, GITEX in Dubai, Infocom India, in Mumbai. We will be there, and maybe some other shows. We are currently in negotiation. Probably will be in Turkey in September as well. So if you are live in those campuses, we'll be happy to meet during those events. Come to our booth. And I'd like to say have a nice day or evening for all our viewers. Thank you for your time, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.